Welcome, once again, to Pandora's Box. Over to you, Drew. Welcome once again to Pandora's Box, everybody. We hope that you're having a great day.
Great day.
Welcome once again to Pandora's Box, everybody. We're bringing you facts in our own way. We're bringing them to you with joviality. We're bringing them to you with silly sensibilities. We're bringing them to you in our own kind of way. Foolish to some, and academic, some might say. Maybe. Academic might be a stretch. Ponderous.
Some might say that.
Explorative. Curious. Yes. Enthusiastic. So yeah, welcome to Pandora's Box, everyone. You are listening to Aspen Waite Radio. You also might be watching us on YouTube or Spotify. Whichever way you're listening to us, please go on our other media outlets, formats.
Watch all of them.
And yeah, just watch all of them, all in a row, even though it's the same thing.
Yeah,
give us, we'd appreciate every single one of you. If you just remember to give us a like and a share and a subscribe, it helps us out. Yeah, because we know from watching the own stuff that we like to watch on obviously YouTube and stuff. It's you don't necessarily watch it and you think, do you know what? Obviously, I've come here to like it, but it does help us out.
Yeah,
help us out. Get that algorithm.
Get on that algorithm.
Those pesky algorithms. So yeah, we appreciate that, guys, and thanks just for everyone that listens on the reg, or people that are listening for the first time. Whatever, we love you. That first track that played us in today was Future Warrior by Palms. I'm your host as usual, Obadiah Pennywhistle. To the left of me we have Drupet Le Bear.
What's up?
That's for people that don't speak French. That's Drupet the Bear.
Drupet the Bear.
To the right of me we have the man with the golden nug, the man that shall forever be a child. Our Gaps Kids model,
the
Young Bullwinkle.
Gatsby.
Welcome.
Our the great Gatsby. I mean Young Bullwinkle. Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
So how are we, fellas? We all good?
Feeling.
What was the name of that first track again?
It was called
Future Warrior.
Future Warrior by Palms. It's a good name, isn't it? Yeah.
Future Warrior.
We'll need a future warrior to fight against the AI.
That's what made me think of it.
The robots.
Yeah.
Future Warrior.
Yeah. That
Terminator.
pesky AI. Elon Musk says there's more. We should fear AI more than every nuclear bomb on the planet combined.
Oh, God.
Apparently AI is at a stage where literally at any minute, theoretically anyway, it could just take over.
You know what I will say?
What's that?
I feel like if I was to rank out of all the ways the world could end, which would I find the most interesting to watch happen and be a part of?
Yeah.
I feel like AI taking over would be one where it'd be a little bit like, there'd be moments where you'd be sat on your sofa watching the news you know what? This is kind of scary, but at the same time, I would rather this happened than I just got nuked randomly out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Depends how you ended up finally getting killed, I guess, and your family and your loved ones. And that.
Because zombie apocalypse would be quite cool to watch as well.
Oh
but
yeah,
it'd also be very scary.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when you said your favourite one. I think because
I think zombies would be not bottom,
terrifying.
But they would be below robots for me.
Well, it'd be scarier for you.
I feel like it'd be like COVID. In a way, and COVID was kind of boring, but kind of scary.
It wouldn't be like COVID.
It would be like if COVID just turned you into a zombie.
Well, I don't know.
You'd just be worried that you just get infected.
Yeah, but I don't think you'd be
randomly,
worrying about the economy and stuff like that if there was a zombie.
Yeah,
if it was
I suppose,
proper 28 days later or The Walking Dead style.
I think that'd be rubbish if it was an illness that was airborne carried.
That's
or
what I mean.
That'd be
Yeah,
savage.
but
zombies, I'm thinking you get bitten.
Yeah, the traditional way that you become a
Cool.
zombie and all these, you have to get bitten by a zombie.
Yeah,
Right,
you
and
would
then
just sniff some air and
you're
then
thinking proper
that'd be horrible.
you're
I
thinking
agree.
proper survival mode. Zombies.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm
cool.
thinking you
See, that's cooler.
fortify your truck, go to a station and get
Go zombie hunting.
get loads of fuel stored up. Go to your local B&Q or Wix and basically fortify your house, board up the windows. Get all of your loved ones decide democratically between you and like your closest friends and your family members where you should hold up, and then you'd create like a system almost like, you know, where, right, who's the most useful in this, so you'd have like in what sort of, I don't want to say department because that sounds almost like hilarious, like governmental, but do you know what I mean, like you'd think like, okay, well, this person's head of this person's head of this, do you know what I mean, like, and then
I reckon I'd starve in a zombie apocalypse. I don't think I'd die as a zombie.
You'd be in our little community, so we try and make sure you didn't starve.
As long as someone could provide me food, then
I'd give you a little can.
I'd be a hand in it.
I'd give you a can of baked beans every day, mate.
Oh, thank you. Enough to keep me going.
Maybe every now and again a Scotch broth, just to switch it up. Get you some vegetables.
We all learn to be a community provider.
Yeah. If I think of like everybody I know,
an asset to the community. That's what I meant to say.
If I think of all like my sort of closest friends and their like immediate family as well, which obviously would be included in our little community, it'd probably end up being about like 30-40 people. Then I think actually I know some pretty useful people that I can imagine with, you know, some like good sort of the odd like good carpenter and builder that are probably really good at like fortifying all the windows and the front door, making it almost impregnable, and almost like, do you know what I mean, like making like not just like from a defensive point of view, but almost like fortifying it in terms of, you know, how obviously how they would fortify old castles and that, so there would be like strategic ways that, you know, nothing could get to like an access point without it being damaged, and then you could like use windows above to like pour like boiling oil out and stuff like that. You know, they used to do like burning oil and tar and stuff back in medieval times. They would like have holes over like the entrance way to the castle, and they would obviously board up the door to the big door to the castle, and then over above they would literally have like cauldrons essentially, and then they would pour like boiling oil to the people below.
Savage,
trying to get in.
Innit?
But
so
I mean,
you don't even have to try and shoot them with arrows. Just pour all over the shields, everything. A bit of that's going to go on them, and it's going to cane.
Man.
That's savage.
Just like melt the zombies.
Yeah. I don't know what I'd be good at, but I've watched every single episode of Walking Dead, so I like to think I'd find a way to be handy somehow.
Oh man, I've been recently getting real jealous of our new next door neighbour. So like,
is he a zombie?
The handyman.
Yeah, the handyman.
You
see the garden as you go past. Literally everything you see in there, like the tree house, the shed, all of the fencing, all the walling. He's like created a whole patio area with all the built up wall all over it and everything. And I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing. He's like built like up like this whole thing, and it's such good skills to have, you know. Like,
you want a person or two like that in your little zombie apocalypse tribe.
Yeah, even to get the plumbing sorted. Sorry. Spitting everywhere there.
Is it making you want to start doing DIY now? Is that
100%? I'm like, and even the old lady next door as well. She built, you know, the top over the front of your door. You get like a little thing like that. Like she built that, and then the log store as well. She just built out of
pallets,
out of pallets, but then made it look really cool in that. And it's just little things like that. It's like
cool.
It's handy, innit?
100%.
It's good stuff to know.
100%, man. Yeah.
It's making me want to bring out my DIY skills a little bit.
I think it's like
later than never.
I actually almost like I find it really fun almost to think like, right, you'd have like this you'd like have the appointed sort of like security of your do you know what I mean, people that would almost be like on guard. That's like job it was to not only to look out for zombies, but if there was like a hairy situation where they would be like at the forefront of the battle. And then you'd obviously have like you'd almost have like the entertainment, you know, you need to keep good spirits, and like morale is like really important. So you'd have people that would almost like part of their job was just to like keep everyone in good spirits and play the music and tell them stories and sort of like run things and stuff. Like I could imagine someone like your mum would be really good at that. Do you know what I mean? Like just keeping everyone's spirits high.
If we were up high up somewhere high up as well, I'd be like an awesome sniper.
Oh yeah,
I'd just like hide out and literally just murk about 1,000 zombies in a week. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. I get like me and Jake Hardin and if Jake could get over from Australia, like me, Jake Hardin and Jake Ayers could be like frontline defense.
I can imagine I just keep imagining like Glastonbury tour in my head and just like all being like at the top of it.
But fortifying it.
Fortifying it, and then anything that come up, and it's like any get over the walls, they literally just like float over the top of the tour. And literally, you know, just have they even got a name? I don't think they have, but basically, you know, when you just essentially make like massive, like sharpen, like massive trunks, not
and just
ramifications.
Like, you just like stick them in the ground so that like anything that's like running up towards your location, it's like really hard because they're just going to get like impaled by a massive stake. Essentially, get like loads of them on the go, loads of just like really brainstorm. Like
that's not
I mean, you would say like storm the ramparts like with a castle sort of thing, but it's not like that's not like what those sort of stake things are.
No.
But Yeah, it's almost like fun to like imagine it. You'd like brainstorm, like just amazing ways to like fortify your defenses,
your domain.
I feel like I said this. I was speaking to my ex about this, and I was thinking the first thing I think you got to do is you got to just get as much like resources you can instantly, but then you got to go somewhere which is like not very populated. Because if you just think, let's say you lived in a city, right? You would have no chance in a zombie apocalypse.
Too many zombies.
If you were going to like a little village somewhere, you could probably wipe out a population.
It's one of these manor houses on a massive estate is what you want.
Exactly.
I can think of a couple of houses in my head that would be like great to fortify. They're like pretty much in the middle of nowhere, and they're already like pretty gated and stuff like that.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
Because then you got nice gardens all around you as well.
Even something like my folks' house, like that little road down there. I mean, it's not the best example of this, but there's like almost like streams either side, and then there's just that road. Like you could build like a really big, massive fortified gate there. Do you know what I mean? And even like, and maybe even in the streams as well, and then just like fortify that whole lane. And then you'd have like a big garden and stuff, and like a nice little community there.
It's a shame it's never going to happen, really, isn't it?
I know. When you always get excited about it, thinking about it, don't you? And you always want it to happen.
Why can't I build this fortified house that's just like in the middle of nowhere with all my mates?
I can definitely think of a couple of people that would be like a liability in that situation, though. Do you know what I mean? Like you just think their skills wouldn't really be appropriate for that scenario. And stuff that you would think like, they'd be a bit of a pain in the ass.
Feed them to the zombies.
yeah. Because obviously you couldn't do it. You wouldn't want to do it. But then you just think you'd be like, oh man.
Yeah, that's it. That's where the brutality of the apocalypse.
What would they contribute in the scenario like that?
Yeah, that's
apart
the thing.
from another mouth to feed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everyone's got to contribute in some way.
Yeah.
Into society in general. Are you an asset to society?
Are you an asset to society in a zombie apocalypse? That's what you got to ask yourself.
Yeah, not normal society, but in a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, because you'd have to just be like accept the fact that you're not going to be eating the same way.
And
stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? You'd have to accept that, like everyone would lose weight. We'd all be living off like like a lot of tinned goods and stuff like that. And
if you were out somewhere where there was a lot of game and stuff, that'd be cool. Like
if you found some if you fortified some like little building in the middle of the Quantox somewhere, like some random one or an Exmoor, then you could go out hunting deer and stuff. Yeah, that'd be good.
There's loads of deer out there, aren't there?
Yeah, but I mean, is there even like an old? Are there even like ruins of anywhere though? I don't know. No. There's that house in the Great Wood, isn't there? Which is like right next to the first car park.
There's a place that right next to Holford where you can walk from the car park, and it's this massive old manor, and like
we walked past it the other day. I went to Holford with my friends and we walked past it.
Yeah,
isn't there like one owned by monks?
Yeah. So an arm of the Buddhist community in the UK bought
Buddhists.
Yeah, but Buddhist community.
I don't know what was Buddhists. No, I just expected them to be like priests, not Buddhists. It just seems a bit random that place in Holford.
Like a Buddhist community.
It's monks, right? It's like all monks.
Buddhist monks, and literally, and they have like things up there, like retreats and stuff, and like have big marquee out on the lawn, and they were doing events there, and I was chatting to him. He started showing me around, and it was nice. So I think it's Wordsworth or someone really famous, like lived there. He and
that does ring a bell,
and wrote parts of his stories from that place, and you can go into the room where it was like the library and stuff where he writ some of his works.
I think it does ring a bell that like Wordsworth was somewhere around the Quantox doing that.
Yeah.
So
I think it was Wordsworth. Yeah.
Hello, Wordsworth.
Hello, Wordsworth. How are you?
Yeah. No, it's cool, isn't it? I mean, let us know what you do in a zombie apocalypse. What would you do, and where would you go? So comment down whether you're watching us on YouTube or whatever. Yeah, comment. Let us know what you would do in a zombie apocalypse. Would you go into the underground?
Would you go high up?
I tell you what would be a really good place to go. If you had access to like a boat, they've obviously got those like oil tankers out at the sea where people like work there, don't they? And obviously like zombies can't swim, and you could fish.
Or can they?
Yeah, imagine that. Nah, I mean, well, in no like movie or television program does it show, because like zombies are like.
I reckon they'd end up in the water though. You couldn't be like storming about in the water. I reckon they'd just be like stood at the bottom.
reckon they'd be just stood at the bottom of the water?
Just not able to move, just able to like sort of stand there, and if you came across, it would bite your leg.
Hopefully, like animals in the sea would take them out though, because they'd all be like decaying, and they probably smell of like decay, and like sharks and that would like be wanting to get them, wouldn't they? Zombie, yeah, but then if the zombies bit a shark and became a zombie shark, that'd be sketchy. Imagine that, you go out to sea thinking it's going to be fine, but then zombie sharks are like just circling your domain. Oh, that's terrifying.
And you only know because it's like
because then they can swim.
Yeah. Zombie blue whale.
Oh,
just swallowing people, like 10 people at a time.
Yeah.
Oh man, menacing. Like, literally, like you just see a boat like going to shore to get some more supplies, it just swallows the boat.
Man.
Oh,
imagine like how like stinking the world would be with a zombie thing as well, because it's all like decaying flesh.
Yeah, 100%.
I never really thought about that, but
man.
it must be horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the zoo the other day. And I mean, it just smells in some parts of the zoo, just because obviously, like, you know, the bababoon enclosure and like where the gorillas and the
well, I'm on like a motorbike as well. Like, you normally in your car you don't notice so much, but like if I like ride past like some roadkill and it's been there for like a week or something, or
like a savage smell.
It's horrible.
Is it?
Because it's like it's death,
and that's like through death. That's through your helmet at speed as well.
Exactly. You just go past it. It's like, especially in the heat, you know, when it's hot and you get hit by it, and it's like,
well, they say that I know that they said that I think it was Auschwitz. They said that when the Americans first what's the word I'm looking for, like
arrived.
Yeah, when they when they arrived at Auschwitz, but I was going
liberated
when they liberated Auschwitz.
Yeah.
They said that like the sites there and the combination of like the stacks of bodies and the smell and everything, like, and I think these are men that like were killing people every day, so it's not like they were like squeamish guys. They were used to seeing their friends getting
surrounded by death.
They were like they were used to seeing death and bodies and that, but they just said the stench and like the sights there was so horrible. Literally, like, people were, like, soldiers were turning up on the scene and just like throwing up like immediately, just because it was just so shocking to the human senses.
I was watching or listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about like the smell of death, and I don't think I've ever smelled death, but they were saying like how it is literally the worst smell you can like ever come across.
My uncle Dom's a copper, and he said that like he basically every now and again, he's not the sort of guy that shares much. He's like a very private guy, but I know that he finds like his job quite stressful, and he's saying, like, you know, it's just like little things that people don't think of. Like, people are, I think like the average sort of civilian is like, just, you know, thinks almost of like all the downsides of a copper, like, oh yeah, just doing people for speeding, and, you know, just like sitting around eating donuts, like waiting to hand out people fines and stuff. And don't get me wrong, there definitely are some coppers that do sort of fit that stereotype, I think. But there are also my Uncle Dom's 100% not like that at all. And he said that like what people don't think about is the fact that, like, yeah, you know, if they get like a call and it's like some concerned neighbour that says they haven't seen their neighbour in like weeks, but there's like really bad smells coming from the house, and it's like really out of character for them not to be around. And then obviously they have to go around there, and if you knock on the door and there's like, you know, and then they talk through the letterbox and there's like clearly some like foul odours coming out, and there's like no one, it's like unresponsive family members, you know, they're completely unaccounted for. The next stage obviously is like your forced entry. And and if you just like break an entry and there's like somebody in that's been like dead for weeks, he said that like the smell is just like depressing. It's like, but it's just like rank. Do you know what I mean? It's like makes you urge, but it's also like a depressing smell. Yeah. And you just get in there and there's like flies everywhere, and
that's savage.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's like parts of their body parts have just like bloated where gravity has started to take an effect, and there's no circulation anymore. So like all the blood in the body's like swollen into the hands and the feet, and like you know what I mean? And it's just the skin's gone grey and all the veins sort of like are showing up, but gone all black and that, and it's just nasty, man.
Not nice.
Like the extremities of in that situation, if you're like a like in the army or a police officer or something like that, you're almost seeing like the extremities of society, like
because we're guarded from it as civilians. Do you know what I mean? We don't have to deal with it because we're not in a line of work or anything that you have to put up with that. We're just like, you know, to us it's almost just like when people die, it's taken care of. But we're not the ones that take care of it, so you don't think about the minutiae. You don't think about the people that actually have to then, you know, in a scenario like that, where like if somebody doesn't die next to their wife, you know, or next to their husband, or if you live on your own and then you just randomly die or commit suicide, and then if you know, you could not be found for a couple of weeks, because it's going to take a little while for people to even realise that something's up, and then by the time you are found, you're already like in a pretty nasty way, you know. That would be the
benefit of the robot civil war, is that if you kill a robot, you won't have to deal with the smell. You'll just
Yeah,
be
that's
able
true.
to just move on.
It would just
That's
smell
the
like
benefit of the
if
wall.
you like smashed up a CD-ROM.
Exactly. Yeah.
The smell of smashed up CD-ROM in the morning.
yeah. Yeah. I said like.
Isn't that weird as well?
What?
Like when you like it, you know, you think of like meat that's like before it's gone rotten.
Yeah.
That smells good when it's
so
cooking.
good. Oh yeah.
Like,
But then again, it's like anything. Like
flesh still.
when something's fresh, it does smell good. But like, think about how bad like a compost heap smells.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's like it's rank, and it's almost like mad at the time that you think that's just veg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it smells rank. Or like,
Yeah.
have you ever smelt like severely gone off broccoli? No, have you though?
I don't think I have.
Oh man, it
Is it horrible?
it smells like savage farts.
Oh, yeah.
It smells like the most savage farts. It really does. But it's like, it's mad that like something like broccoli that normally someone's just spot,
Yeah,
you know, just
we might have to go and just-
gone on their motorbike in the no, it's mad that something that normally you wouldn't you think of as like a pretty odorless, relatively odious.
Yeah.
No, sorry, relatively odorless. I meant
Odious.
relatively odious. No, that's the whole point. It's not odious. Relatively odorless, like broccoli.
Odious?
Odious is when something does smell bad.
Oh, it does smell bad.
You odious wench! yeah.
Odorous and odious.
Yeah. So
Odorless.
yeah, it's mad to think that something like broccoli can smell that bad. But yeah, I remember during the first lockdown, I remember I did like a little food order, but it was like on like one of the hottest days of that year, and the food like spoiled on the way.
Cool.
And I remember like it was the broccoli just arrived to us rank, and then I remember even the delivery driver was like, just to warn you, I think some of your food's gone bad. It like smells pretty bad, and like we like couldn't eat. Like half of the food that we ordered was like unusable because it was
That's
like
savage.
Yeah.
Did they not have it in Cause
yeah, they get it in ice packs and everything like that.
Yeah, with avocado, they've actually got fridges on the back of the back of the van, and it's all stacked.
Yeah,
up
I don't know the exact details, but he basically said that it'd been like such a hot day that it got like really hot in the back of the lorry, and it just like spoiled loads of the food.
Don't
Savage.
with like online orders and deliveries, they tend to give sort of stuff that's pretty close to spoiling anyway. I find usually. I feel like if we get a delivery to our house, it's usually the stuff that maybe if you were to go to a shop, for example, you're going to buy the stuff,
put your hand right at the back,
freshest stuff that you can find.
Yeah.
But,
that's what I was saying.
like-
Yeah.
yeah, but if you're going to go, you know, if they're just trying to get rid of whatever they can, they might give you bread that spoils in a day.
Yeah.
You know, you never really know when you're ordering
Yeah, definitely.
online.
If it's like, you know, say it's like say it's like, I don't know, like the second. You're not going to buy like a chicken that goes off on the 3rd, are you? You're going to find one that goes off on like the 8th or the 9th. Because then you're like, that's going to be really
But
fresh.
if you were ordering that online, they'd send you.
Best believe that
yeah.
goes off on the 2nd.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I just don't. I mean, I did a couple times, as I said, during the first lockdown. But in general, I never order online because
Yeah.
I'd much rather just have the freedom to pick whatever I want.
Yeah. It's been real good. We've been doing Ocado ones like recently, and they're always like real good. But seems
So avocados are much more sort of market one though, isn't it? Was it like Waitrose?
Yeah, I think it's like Waitrose, M&S, and another place that I can't remember the name of. But to be honest, I don't really know because I'm not dealing with that stuff as much.
Yeah.
Like Meg's
Your
pretty on it with
betrothed
that.
is.
Yeah, but
She's the one buying all the lentils.
It's all been real nice and that. Like I haven't thought, that's like a bit annoying that they've sent that, you know. But
she's the lady behind the bean stew.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, we had like bean dal yesterday, and it was
really good?
insane.
I do
So
really like
good.
dals.
Yeah, I don't know. She's just like when the sauce is just so flavoursome.
Yeah.
like, and it's like, what have you done to me?
What have you done?
What have you done to this?
Yeah, I love taka dal, like, you know, like an Indian, and it's just like
nice garlicky
lentil,
dal,
like a lentil dal. Oh, it's delicious, man. Beautiful garlic.
We got an
lentil,
insane Indian like next to us in Warminster
have
as
you?
well. Yeah, like we tried it the other day, and it was just one of those ones where you're like, oh my god, this is good. You know, sometimes it's like, yeah, this is all right. Like, but it was like and you go there. I went and picked it up, and there's literally about 4 seats in there. It's like really small, but yeah.
Have you
it's
tried
a
that
banging
stone
one.
baked pizza or
Hell yeah?
What about that Thai place in Westbury?
Not the Thai.
No, but you got the
Thai.
stone baked pizza.
Not Westbury. There's one in Warminster.
Oh,
that is
nice.
literally an Italian guy owns it, and he's got inside it. It's literally a like a period like Italian like stone built like pizza oven as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So They do 2 for Tuesdays.
Makes it taste better if it's from an Italian guy as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, you want my pizza?
Yeah. Instantly tastes 10% better.
He's like that as well. He's called Gino.
Oh, mate, what a chance!
Add an extra percentage onto the flavour every time.
You're nice,
I remember how much it was, how funny it was. So I went through a stage like, maybe it was like even as much as a couple of years ago now, but it was like a year or two ago. And I was watching that really good show. It's like Gino, Fred, and Gordon
They've done
Ramsay.
Like multiple little like.
I really want to
stuff.
see one of
really
those.
Good.
You've said about that.
My
before.
favourite one was the one where they went to the Greek islands, and it was really funny because me and Em were watching it, and Em said that it's like really funny because she said that it was like watching me and Josh and Drew.
Yeah.
She said it was like Josh. She said I was like Gordon, Josh was like Fred, and Drew's like Gino.
Yeah.
And then it was really funny was like about a month later we were out with Josh, that's Zoussoir the Gold, obviously Bullwinkle's older brother, and he's also guest hosted Darkdale and also just been a guest on Darkdale loads of times. He's like Josh and Claire said that they'd said exactly the same thing, which I just thought was like really funny. Do you know what I mean? It's just like hilarious.
I want to see it now.
Yeah. It was like really funny. I remember they did this like race in Athens, and like it was like you could tell that like Gino and Fred were taking it like not serious, like they were still having a laugh, but they were at least were sort of like doing it. Whereas like Gino's, you could tell he was like most concerned with just putting on the most ridiculous outfit possible, and was not taking the race seriously at all. And it was like Fred won, but like the race, but like Gino like deliberately almost like to prove a point, almost like wore like a weighted vest the whole time. So like Gino came second but wore the weighted vest, and like Gordon came second but wore a weighted vest, and Gino just came like last by far, but was just like making everyone just like hysterically laughing because he was like did it in these like weird little like flamingo like little pants or something like that, like these little pink flamingo pants or something. And it was just like, and even like when they were like swimming, they were catching fresh produce themselves, like going down in the sea off like the Greek islands, getting like lobsters and crabs and stuff. But like just Fred and Gordon were just wearing like black swimsuits, and just Gino just had this like pink one with like unicorns on or something like that, and it was so funny.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah, it was actually hilarious, man. I love that show though. That's actually a well good show.
Very good.
Anyway, should we do like randomly? We'll do a couple of quickfire facts randomly before we go into our next song.
I do have a question this week as well for both of you.
Yeah,
so we could do that at some point too.
Yeah, we'll save it to after the next song. We can we can kick that off. Right. Did you know that the word honeymoon originated from the tradition of giving newlyweds a month's supply of mead on their wedding night?
I had heard that before.
Yeah, I'd heard that as well.
That's so
it's a cool fact though for people that don't know.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Because honeymoon is such like a well-known term, but it has its origins in sort of like Saxon and Viking sort of just traditions, because that was like the way that you would do it. Yeah.
And you'd also know a month from the way that the moon looked.
The moon, so it's like so it's like you can have enough mead for the next moon until the next full moon. Yeah, so it's like honeymoon.
Cool.
However the moon was when you got married.
That's cool, isn't it? Oh, I thought this was a good one because it counters what Marshal Bernardo was saying last week. You know when we were talking about Hitler and Eva Braun's remains, and Bernardo was saying that that the remains of Hitler have been verified are in Russia, but from this account, this is interesting because this says the opposite. This says the burnt remains of Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun were destroyed in 1970 by order of KGB head Yuri Andropov, except for a few fragments of bone and skull, which were rediscovered in 1993. And in 2009, DNA testing by the University of Connecticut on the fragments confirmed that the bone fragments did not belong to Hitler or Braun.
Ooh.
So this is saying that that the supposed remains of Hitler and Braun are not actually them, which although I'm not saying that's evidence that Hitler definitely, because there's that, the reason why we were talking about with Bernard last week basically is because some people think that Hitler actually escaped the bunker in Berlin and that
over to Argentina.
Yes, that's right, over to South America, used his contacts and his friends in Spain. Snuck him through Germany, through Spain, to the coast, probably got on some Nazi submarine, literally went under the Atlantic Ocean, landed on some little secluded beach somewhere in Argentina. And we know things like that did happen. So there's solid accounts of submarines popping up on Argentinian little beaches and Nazi officials getting out and sort of starting new lives there. The question is, did Hitler? There's a really interesting television program called Finding Hitler that's got this guy called Tim Kennedy on it, and he's like a former US Green Beret, And there's like other journalists and detectives that are like helping him out on the program, and they're like going around Argentina and asking questions. And there are people, Argentinians, that swear down that they saw Hitler.
Wow.
Like while he was alive, like when they were like young children. You know, like women that are like nowadays like 50, 60, that say like when they were like little kids, they remember being at like a dinner table with Hitler, and he was like a friend of their parents and stuff.
That's crazy.
And they had they were like half Argentinian, half German, and like their dad, who was German, like knew Hitler and stuff like that. It's like crazy,
mad, isn't it?
So it's like I'm undecided. I'm neither here nor there with it, but I thought that was interesting because Bernard was saying it like it was a fact that it was, whereas this is saying after actually doing testing, it turned out
the fact was that it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So have that, Bernardo.
Yeah, you'd like to hope that like Hitler met his end, like, you know.
I thought you were gonna say you like to hope he got away for a second.
Nah, like, you know, that he got what was coming to him. Really.
Yeah. No, yeah, me too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But this, so it's horrible that if it didn't happen like that.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like awful to think that he escaped justice. I guess
this awesome life in Argentina with
the
locals.
I guess the only
guinea pigs.
The only positive I suppose you can take from that is to think that he was obviously so obsessed with like the Third Reich and everything, and like making
how much it crumbled.
quote unquote Aryan supremacy, like take over the world and eradicating the Jews and eradicating the Slavic people and all that. At least he had to live if he did survive, at least he had to live his whole life knowing that he completely and utterly failed. That's like
living his whole life in disgrace.
Knowing that literally his not only was his forces wiped out and eradicated, but it ended up having massive negative ramifications on the German people. There was literally the Berlin Wall was built, and people that lived in East Berlin under sort of like Soviet rule would have lived awful lives. Do you know what I mean? Like really bad lives, like impoverished. And the fact that like it basically split your country in two as well. You know, that's like not nice, is it, to think that your country would be that divided? So, you know, even if he did survive, I'm sure he had to live his life in sort of shame and regret, and knowing that he caused the lives of a ridiculous amount of not just people in general, but German people who were like basically who we were trying to make like the master race. Apparently, by the time that the Allies and all the Allies got to Berlin, obviously the Russians on the Eastern Front and the Americans and the British and the Canadians and the Australians, etc., on the Western Front. Apparently, by the time they got to Berlin, the German army was pretty much eradicated already. So like the Nazi officials had like basically made like boys like dress up in the soldiers' uniforms and just basically gave them guns and were like, right, you need to defend the city. So that's like in itself, that's horrible. Think about that. There must have been quite a lot of young lads, like 12-year-old boys and stuff, that must have just been like killed, probably terrified, not knowing what they were doing, probably not hitting anything, just died for like no reason essentially. This is another cool fact now. Do you know that during the Greeks' fight for independence in 1826, a Turkish garrison in the Acropolis was besieged by Greek fighters? When the Turks ran low on bullets, they began to cut the marble columns to use the lead within as bullets. The Greeks are so fond of their history and so much respect their heritage that they sent the Turks ammunition so that they would stop destroying the columns. I just thought that was like an interesting. Do you know what I mean? It was like they were literally like they were like at war with the Turks to like win their independence, but they were so distraught at the idea of the Turks like destroying these beautiful columns that were like from the ancient Greek heyday and all these pantheons and stuff like that. They were like, no, we'd actually just rather give you bullets to fight us.
Yeah,
even if it kills us.
I mean, I guess if they're getting bullets either way,
why
not?
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. This is a cool fact. Charles Darwin and Joseph Hooker started the world's first terraforming project on what's known as Ascension Island in 1850. The project has turned an arid volcanic wasteland into a self-sustaining and self-reproducing ecosystem made completely of foreign plants from all over the world. That's epic, isn't it?
That's cool, because normally you think of when things... Because there's that... Sometimes, like, if things mix from different places, like, will it cause, like, disease and stuff and disruption, or will it be... But that's, like, seems like an amazing, like, cohabitation of plants.
I guess in this case, there wouldn't have been any risk of that happening, because if it was literally just a volcanic wasteland, there's nothing to destroy. So it's like, you can only do good, whatever, you know what I mean? I'm sure there was probably some plants that got introduced that ended up dying out because they were, like, couldn't combat with probably more efficient plants and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's like that's not really too much of a concern because none of it's native anyway. And as long those plants are going to live on in their natural environment, probably back home wherever they come from anyway. But it's quite. I almost it makes me really want to go there because it's almost like this. In a way, it's almost like this artificial island. But by this point, obviously, it was made in 1850, and now it's like 2022. It's
what was it called again?
Ascension Island.
Cool name for an island as well.
Yeah, it is a cool name.
To look that up.
So yeah, I almost really want to go there and just like see what it's like. Seems pretty epic. Oh, I've heard this one before. This is pretty nasty. Did you know in the and it's a great movie as well. Actually, I recommend. In the 1982 movie Poltergeist, they used real skeletons as props because they were cheaper at the time than getting plastic skeletons, which is funny nowadays because like plastic skeleton props are like pretty easy to get nowadays. Like even like we could just get our hands on them.
Wait, when was this?
1982.
That's not that long ago.
No. Yeah. Apparently, I can't remember exactly the dealio, but apparently, you could get your hands on human skeletons. They were usually given out to things like colleges and universities to help people like learn human anatomy. Like people that were going into like medicine, like doctors and stuff. To like helps you like learn how to like heal bones and all that sort of osteo side of like medicine and stuff like that. But yeah, one thing that the directors and the producers though of the movie like kept it from the actors and the actresses, so they didn't know. And there's like a scene where like apparently there was for 4 or 5 days they did this specific scene where the one of the lead females of the movie is like swimming in her parents' swimming pool, but then it gets like really dark. Like literally the water literally turns to mud, and then it's like the skeletons are like in the water with her and stuff like that. And they put makeup on the skeletons because the skeletons were all like bleached and stuff when they were given to the movie, but then they deliberately made them look more like monstrous and like put like fake decaying flesh on them and stuff. And in the scenes, the skeletons were like dragging her under, and it was like this really horrifying scene. And then the actress said that she was like really horrified later on when she found out that they were like real people's bones. Whoa. And like some people think that say nowadays that the set of the movie was like cursed, and they also say that like Poltergeist 2 was like a cursed production, and a lot of people say it was because of the fact that they used like 4 real skeletons, and just like it's almost like seems a bit disrespectful in a way.
I remember when I went to Peru and I was out in the deserty part of Nazca, and the part where there was just like real skeletons like just littered all over the floor.
I remember I saw a picture of it.
Yeah, and like I was just had like a couple of femurs in my hand, and like and it's just weird that was actually people.
They're like massively long dreads there as well.
Yeah, so the people the women would never cut their hair like while they were alive, and they'd be like literally. You had like these dreadlocks that were like massively long, like and just all over, just littered across the desert floor, and it's like thousands of years old.
Whoa. That's crazy, man. Yeah, that is crazy. That's crazy. There's another quick fire fact for us now. The American government used to have what they called a conscience fund, where people could send money if they felt guilty. The largest sum ever received was in 1909 when someone mailed in $18,669. In today's money, that's almost $500,000 US. That's crazy. And can you imagine that somebody just like a conscience fund where someone could send money in if they felt guilty? So someone out there was just feeling really guilty about something.
I'd hate to know what they did.
So they
definitely did something pretty messed up.
They just sent in almost $500,000. That's crazy, isn't it? That's pretty cool though. That's a pretty cool fact. This is a cool one, I thought. Did you know that motion sickness occurs due to a confusion between perceived movement and actual movement? The brain's conclusion is that one of the senses must be hallucinating due to poison ingestion, and thus the brain induces vomiting to clear the supposed toxin. And that's why you like throw up if you're on a fairground ride or something like that, because nothing in nature would make you feel that way other than having hallucinations or crazy feelings from being poisoned. So that's literally the only reason why your body makes you throw up, which is crazy, isn't it? Because it seems like almost like an obvious thing. Like we all know, that if you go on like a crazy fairground ride or something, you might throw up. But you never really question why. So yeah, it's actually because of that evolutionary thing.
I wonder if that's the same as like car sickness, because I would always get like car sickness, and because like it's not a very natural thing.
Well, yeah,
really,
it says motion sickness, so yeah, motion sickness would fall under that. You know?
It's pretty crazy when you think about the fact going in a car is like just going in a box where you can
on
move
wheels
extremely fast, but you don't actually have to move yourself.
I was blazed on the way back from a concert once, and that was a very real reality. I'm just in this tin box, just curdling.
Man, I think it quite often. It's mad. Yeah.
So weird.
Anyway, we're going to listen to some tracks now. This is The Wildflowers by Opeth. Stick around, we've got loads more Quickfire Facts, and we're going to chat some more about AI in the second hour. You are listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. Thanks for chilling with us this evening. We love you. Have you guys ever heard of a lady called Amelia Dyer?
Amelia Clark? Yes. Amelia Dyer?
No. She is known as the Reading Baby Farmer.
The Reading babe. I just imagine this red person in my head, and they're like, this Reading. She is Reading. She's shy.
She's reddening. She was a horrible woman.
Oh.
She was born.
I don't like her.
In 1837, and she died in 1896. She is credited as being one of the most prolific murderers in British history.
What? That's where the red comes from.
Yes. Red rum.
Murder.
Red rum. Operating as a baby farmer in Victorian England. Isn't it so funny to think that they used to have baby farmers?
I don't get it.
Was she the head producer of her baby farm?
Yes. So she operated as a baby farmer in Victorian England. Dyer was hanged in 1896 for just one murder, although there is little doubt that she was responsible for many, many more. Dyer first trained as a nurse and a midwife, and by the 1860s became a baby farmer, which was a lucrative trade in Victoria-era England. The Poor Law Amendment Act of 1834 made it so fathers of illegitimate children were not obligated by law to support their children financially, leaving many women without options. For a fee, baby farmers would adopt the unwanted children. They then operated under the ruse that the child would be taken care of, but often the children were mistreated and even killed. Miss Dyer herself assured clients that children under her care would be given a safe and a loving home, but this was far from the truth. Man, I know I've said this before, haven't I? Like on a couple, I can't remember exactly why. But you got to be messed up if you want to hurt a baby, or even kill a baby, man. Like, what is wrong with you,
man? Anything, yeah. Oh, innocent little things.
Yeah, poor little sausages. Initially, Dyer would let the child die from starvation and neglect. She would give what's known as mother's friend, an opium-laced syrup, which was given to quiet these children as they suffered through starvation until death.
What the hell?
I wonder if this is what the film I watched last night is based on.
What movie was that again?
Prisoners.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so tell us about Prisoners briefly, before I carry on.
There's essentially like there's these people that kidnap like children, and you follow like this dad who's like child has just been kidnapped, and like the lead detective on the case as well. You follow him both for their story basically. I don't want to give away any spoilers,
sure.
But that little
it
bit you were saying there
like
with like the opioid mixed like substance, that sounds like, well, that is in the film. So
right, yeah, it must be based on even if it's just loosely on some historical stuff. But I think also to starve a child to neglect, because it must be crying so much, and like that to me would naturally tug on your heartstrings.
Or even if it doesn't cry because it's been given that opium but you're just like starving there. Like,
I still think like savage. In between doses of opium, it must be like, you know what I mean, like sad, because it's just not
so savage.
Poor little sausages. Eventually, Dyer resorted to faster murders, which allowed her to pocket even more profit. Dyer eluded the authorities for years, but was eventually arrested when a doctor became suspicious of the number of babies dying under her care. Surprisingly, though, Dyer was only charged with neglect and was sentenced to just 6 months of labour. Dyer learned from her initial conviction. When she returned to baby farming, she did not involve physicians and began disposing of the bodies herself to avoid any added risk. She also relocated frequently to avoid suspicion and took up the use of aliases. Dyer was eventually apprehended when an infant's body recovered from the Thames was traced back to Mrs. Thomas, one of Dyer's many aliases. When authorities raided Dyer's residence, they were overcome with a stench of human remains, although no bodies were found. Several more babies were recovered from the Thames, each with white edging tape still wrapped around their necks. Dyer was later quoted as saying about the white tape, "That was how you could tell it was one of mine." Dyer was tried at the Old Bailey in March of 1896 using insanity as her self-defence. It took a jury less than 5 minutes to reach a guilty verdict. She pled guilty to just one murder, but using estimates based on timelines and how many years she was active, she likely killed up to 400 children in her life.
What?
That's savage.
On Wednesday, June 10th, 1896, just before 9 a.m, Amelia Dyer was hanged to death. Because the murders, because the murders occurred during the same period, some believe that Amelia Dyer and Jack the Ripper are one and the same, and that the Ripper's victims were botched abortions committed by Dyer. There is little evidence to back this theory, however. I don't believe that. But you can see just because it was like around the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a horrible, horrible woman.
Yeah.
I hope that you're burning in hell, Amelia Dyer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't take pleasure or joy in saying that, but I hope you are. You sod. You absolute sod.
Sodomist.
You absolute sod. No, it's a different thing altogether, mate. Winston Churchill found so much... Anyway, quickfire fact! Winston Churchill found so much enjoyment and relaxation...
In whiskey.
Well, yes, he did from whiskey. But also in laying bricks. That he joined and paid dues to the Bricklayers' Union. He even inquired in a letter, "Is there a rule regulating the number of bricks which a man may lay a day? And what are the restrictions on overtime?" Do you know what? I can see that though. Because he had such a mentally taxing job. Not only was he the Prime Minister of a country, but he was a Prime Minister of a country during one of, if not the largest war of all time. You know, sort of between that and the First World War, I guess. So it's like, that's, you know, it's a very mentally stressful job and it's very mentally taxing. And I think when you do something that's extremely mentally taxing, the simplicity of physical tasks can be very relaxing to you.
Just a nice time to like switch off, lay some bricks.
Oh, man.
It's one of the reasons I always say to you why I quite like gardening.
Yeah, last weekend, now I've got a garden, which is like the first time I've ever had a garden.
Now you're embracing your inner Samwise Gamgee.
Yeah, like the little garage bit, around the side, had like, I was like, right, we're going to do our garden. Got two ton bags and cleared like a load of bracken and brambles from the side and just got it all completely clear.
Not to be confused with the kraken.
Not the kraken, but the bracken.
Yeah.
But it was hard work. Full day of it. I was knackered after, like aching and stuff.
But you felt good.
But yeah, it felt so good to do something physical like that. You know, and where you can see the result at the end as well. It's all clear. Yeah. It's really good that physical.
Oh, it's
work
lovely,
sometimes.
man. Isn't it? It's lovely. It's lovely.
It's lovely.
That's so funny that you messaged them and basically asked if there was a limit on how many bricks you could lay.
Yeah. So almost like
asking for a friend.
Doing it by the book. Doing it by the book. This is almost like quite like a funny one in a way. In 1944, British military intelligence submitted a full plan to kill Hitler during one of his routine solitary walks. It was never carried out, however. Why, you may ask? Hitler was such a poor strategist that the British realised that his replacement could, in all likelihood, do a better job of defending Germany from the Allies than Hitler would if he died. And I think, as you know, we've talked about it on the pod in the past at different points, but like Hitler was pretty nuts, really. Like Hitler was not a very good military general. Yeah,
like you said, like one of the major turning points of the war, wasn't it, when he like decided to take sole control of like what they were doing.
Well, he was always in sole control, but he did like a lot of strategic blunders. Like he unnecessarily opened up war on the Eastern Front, which was like really started to turn, like was a massive turning point in World War II. He also had like crazy fantastical like plots rather than thinking of just like, you know, straightforward efficient military tactics, as we've talked about before. He had like crazy ideas like, I want us to build massive tanks that there
ever was.
Yeah, and he literally wanted to build like tanks that were like insanely massive. And they were like all of his like you know, generals and like, you know, all the engineers that he got to like overlook these plans were like, look, each one of these things is going to cost like millions and millions and millions of pounds. That's obviously in today's money. And not only that, but if one of them like has some sort of mechanical problem, that's going to cost so much to fix, and the parts are going to be so massive and so intricate. and if say that they are, and they're going to be such big lumbering things that, like, say if they are bombed enough, and big enough bombs are landed on them that's basically incapacitated, then it's going to cost a ridiculous amount just to even remove the thing, let alone to get it working again. But he just had these like grandiose visions. Do you know what I mean? He was great at he was very charismatic, and he was great at propaganda and stuff like that, and almost like getting the German people behind him. Because let's not forget, he did basically put the Nazi party in power essentially just from his own speeches and stuff. Like, he convinced the whole country to basically get behind the Nazi ideology, which is crazy really when you think about it. But yeah, when it actually came to like military strategy in itself, like a lot of the people in his cabinet, if not all the people, were just like, this guy's crazy. So the British were like, actually, yeah. By 1944, the war had already started was already shifting anyway, and they were like, actually, it's probably just better to keep him around. I mean, there were assassination attempts on Hitler from German people. That's how, like, by the end of the war, you know what I mean? People were like, we need to get rid of this guy because, you know, otherwise we're just going to...
Who was the guy that, what was it? There was someone we've talked about on the pod before that was supposed to snipe him.
Was that
and miss someone or something. And the person that was walking in the trench and he missed him, but then it was like, do you remember that story?
Oh, yeah,
sniper, right? It was like, was that the White Death?
No, that's nothing to do with Hitler. Simo Heiha, whatever his name was, the Finnish guy you're thinking of.
But it was like, it was found out afterwards.
In World War One, there was basically like a British soldier that could have killed Hitler, but he took pity on him.
Yes, that was it.
Not knowing obviously that guy would go on to cause World War Two.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, isn't it? It's like, obviously your initial reaction is like, oh, if only he'd killed him. But then you think, by modern day standards, it would almost be, I think at this stage, it would almost be dangerous to say that, because we have no idea how the world would be different now. Like, no. I mean, in the long run, it could have even ended up worse. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
You never know, do you?
But I mean, on the upside, I'm not 100% decided on that, because I think, considering how many millions of people died during the Second World War, you know what I mean? It might still have been worth it just for him to take him out. I mean, from a British point of view, solely a British point of view, it might have been better as well, because obviously, I mean, World War One sort of like gave the Brits a hammering. Like, so like a lot more British soldiers died in World War One than they did in World War Two, for example. But by the end of World War Two, it was basically, that was like the hammer in the coffin of like the British Empire. Like, people think of, like, you know, like, nowadays we don't have a British Empire, we're just Britain, aren't we? Whereas obviously, like, the British Empire, that was like, what did it own, like a quarter of the world or something like that, or a third of the world, or something crazy. But obviously just all our resources were just ground to a halt. We were the only sort of country in Europe and stuff that like weren't overtaken by the Germans, by the Nazis. Although the Germans really tried a couple of times, like,
they got Guernsey,
the Battle of like the Battle of Britain and stuff like that. They really tried, and you know, they had a couple of other what was the operation that Hitler? It was Operation something. So it was basically like his operation to try and take over Britain. But, you know, luckily, obviously, unlike France and other countries, they couldn't accomplish it. But in that effort, just to, you know, not be invaded and everything, and all, there was wars, there was like battles going on all over the world. You know, there were like wars British soldiers were fighting in Egypt, and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Not just like, it's not like we were just defending Britain. And they were like, you know, in Burma, there were freaking like British soldiers fighting in Burma and stuff. So it was quite like a hammer in the coffin of the British. There's like all our resources and everything were like spent. And it was also sort of like the rise of the Americans, really, in a lot of ways, the Second World War. They were the really ones that, like, I would say properly came out of World War II as the victors. I would say as the Americans. But the British literally, like, to try and entice America to join the war, literally like sold, like basically gave land and countries to America. And it's almost like by the Second World War, it's like they'd almost like solidified themselves as like the new big world power, and almost like the police of the world. That's how I almost like see it. And they're pretty much like that to this day, aren't they? Really? Whether, like, regardless of what your thoughts are on Americans, because I know a lot of people don't like America, and then, you know, it's not the most popular place.
They're the biggest economic force in the world at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, and at least until, and I'd still say they are probably the most respected military as well.
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I've not really thought about it like that, but of course they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the main deterrent of anybody that, say, wouldn't like countries like Britain and US in the world, the main deterrent of why they would not, say, want to then go to war with us is mainly because of the Americans, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
They have so many nuclear bombs. They put so much more government funding into their military than, say, a country like Britain does. They just have so much, like, money poured into weaponry and, encouraging, like, young men to join the army when they come out of high school. You know what I mean? Stuff like that, Whereas in Britain, I think a lot less fundings get put into it. We have our Trident, which is good, like Trident on nuclear submarines, which apparently are ridiculously good, to be fair. Apparently, Britain's Trident submarines are like the best submarines in the world.
Whoa.
Yeah, apparently, I can't remember. I think I told you this, guys, before. So, but I remember the Brits had like an agreement with the Americans that basically said, like, do you mind? Like, obviously they knew that we wouldn't actually do anything, but like,
but if we get near,
can we basically? Yeah.
And they do it to like Japan or China as well, or like they
China,
went China,
yeah. Apparently a British nuclear submarine like basically docked in New York Harbor, and no American, like not even like the most state-of-the-art American radar could like pick up that there was like a nuclear submarine in their harbor.
That's crazy.
In New York City.
Yeah,
that's
just
mental.
docked. Yeah, and apparently, Trident submarines are so advanced as well that they can literally follow, like almost like nose to tail, like Chinese submarines under the water, and the Chinese subs just don't even know they're there.
Crazy, innit?
That's mental.
Another thing as well I saw the other day, just back onto like the World War thing, like some of the early ones, you can see like colorized footage of like things that were recorded from like the First World War and stuff. And a proper savage one I saw like the other day was like shell shock victims, and it's just like, what, it's crazy to think that some experiences that have happened like to humanity, like, that can actually cause something like that actual physical and emotional like trauma that plays out in this, like, these people are just completely, they're not like people anymore. It's like really weird, and it's crazy how something like that can happen. Like, to me, like, that can, no matter what you go through,
you
like,
can recover.
But like when you look at something like that, it's like, nah, like, that's just like they're like totally altered. Messed up from it.
I mean, hopefully, like, with enough years, hopefully I'd like to think that maybe they can get somewhat back to what they were before, maybe.
But these people had like just tics and stuff,
and they can't respond properly.
No, so
I suppose weird. Like, it's such an overload. Like, I think there's so many unnatural things. Like, and it's not natural for your ears and your eyes to be taking in things like massively loud bombs going off, and it's like with like planes going over you, and like, you'll probably just like, it's such an
chaotic.
Like, even when you think about, like, say, like, medieval, battles, like, when you think of, like, getting, like, your arm cut off or anything like that, it wouldn't have the same sensory stimulus in a negative way as if there was, like,
wouldn't be as loud
bombs going off and stuff like that, Like, the clashing of the swords and stuff would have been, like, pretty
and, like, bombs
intense.
And, like, anything, even, like, bullets and guns and the bangs and that explosion, there's something like so powerful about them that's like beyond our perception, that's just like it's crazy. It's like a volcano going off or something. Like,
it's quite cool actually. I was watching like a program about like muskets. Like, muskets were like the primary sort of like weapon of choice, at least by, say, the British Empire and stuff during like the Napoleonic Wars. And they were saying, like, one thing that people don't really realise about muskets today was that they gave off so much smoke that, like, most of, say, the Napoleonic War battles, like the really big battles, they said that obviously after a couple of rounds, by like hundreds of men giving off rounds, they said that literally, like, it was like the battlefield would have been like thick with smoke. So like crazy. You would have like wouldn't have really even been able to see your target. So you were like firing blind, and then you just suddenly see this like Frenchman just suddenly just come out of the smoke. But by the time you saw him, he'd be like 5 feet away. So it was really almost, you could imagine it'd be quite like ominous in a way. Like, you'd hear drums in the background, and you just hear all this like cannons going off and like guns and stuff, but you wouldn't really know where you are. It sounds like it would be like a lot more. I imagine it'd be like cause a lot more sort of like feelings of nausea and confusion than you'd probably think if you just, without knowing that and without looking deep into it, then you would initially think of like a battle back in those days. That's like, that sounds pretty intense, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. Crazy. Muskets, eh?
Muskets.
And apparently muskets were savage weapons as well. Obviously, nowadays we just think of them as being like
inferior guns.
Being like really like not very accurate and stuff, but apparently they were like brutal.
Yeah, they'd like blow up holes in people and stuff. And wasn't there the lead that would like splat and like
apparently literally like when a musket ball entered your body, it would like shatter bone and send flesh like flying. And apparently it would have been like agonizing, like absolutely agonizing to like get shot with a musket ball. Like sometimes it would like blow entire limbs off and stuff.
Whoa!
Like if it hit like your forearm and stuff like that, like crazy. Just shatter all your forearm bones in it. And
proper
everything.
Call of Duty style.
Brutal, man. Anyway, should we have some more quickfire facts?
Yeah, man, bring them on.
Quickfire facts! So, did you know that dragonflies are one of the most efficient killers in all of nature? They capture their prey more than 95% of the time. To put that into contrast, lions do not even have a 50% success rate.
Whoa.
That's crazy, isn't it? Fair play to the dragonfly. Also, one of the most ancient creatures on the planet. Do you remember when we talked about those giant dragonflies?
They've perfected
Meganeurapsis.
Yeah,
that was the name, right?
Meganeurapsis. Yeah. They've one of the most ancient creatures on the whole entire planet. They evolved like millions and millions of years before even the first dinosaur.
They are quite trippy dragonflies. They scare me a little bit seeing a dragonfly for some reason.
I always think
like if they were massive, they'd be one of the most terrifying things to be massive. Well, obviously behind like spiders and stuff. But
I always think when you see a dragonfly, it's almost like it feels a bit like special.
Yeah. There's this real nice walk around by us. I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to think of the name of it. But where they've got some hides there where you can go, and I've done some filming there and stuff. And there was loads of different dragonflies flying about, and then there was this tiny little creek, and like there was a giant dragonfly, and it was really cool because it's like a nature park. It's got like the plaques, and it tells you about the different ones and stuff, and you could actually see the ones that it was talking about flying there, and it's had this plaque about the giant dragonfly. And it was like this thing just lived in this creek. It was just in the middle, and then it'd just be cruising around the middle of it, and then it would just come up around your head a bit, but it was just always there. And I went off on a walk, come back, and it was like you could tell that was like its territory.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so cool seeing a dragonfly like that, because normally they're a bit all over the place, aren't they?
Yeah.
That little creek was this giant dragonfly's domain.
That's cool.
Like,
the big one.
This is my lair.
Yeah.
Another little fact now. There was a hacker called Kevin Mitnick. He was believed to be so dangerous that he was placed in solitary confinement. Government officials feared that he was such an adequate hacker that he could start a thermonuclear war just by whistling into a payphone.
What?
Yeah, I mean,
just by whistling into a payphone.
I mean, I guess he would have had to have priorly rigged that payphone somehow, or like hacked that payphone prior, because obviously you can't just be like. Do you know what I mean? Kind of like when
I'm calling to the code.
When Gandalf calls Shadowfax. Then Shadowfax just runs across the plains.
Oh man, yeah, that's what I felt. I didn't put two and two together then. Like obviously, it would have he'd have had to have hacked it. I just thought it was like a form of hacking. Like if you do some certain frequencies, then the code will
then
call,
the nukes will go.
Imagine like you accidentally just like whistle into a phone chatting to your mate. You accidentally hit that frequency and just like thermonuclear wars just set off. Yeah, it's cool to think though, well, cool but ominous to think that this guy was like so feared for his hacking ability that he was literally just placed in solitary confinement until he died. Because that's how madly good he was at hacking. I suppose it was
hackers are like such a powerful thing to be able to do. I remember watching this thing about it was about some hacker that made a point of how easy it would be to break down society, and how they did it was they hacked into like all these traffic lights of a city and just changed them by like a couple seconds.
Oh yeah,
each one.
I remember.
And it like built up so much traffic that there was like such a loss of like business and everything throughout the day. And you wouldn't think that it would do that just from changing the traffic lights like a tiny bit. But like he was just displaying how easily you could like cause.
I wonder if you can like shut down the grid.
Yeah.
By could you do that?
I couldn't.
I
specifically.
couldn't. Yeah.
No. I mean, like, do you think that like that could happen?
Everything
Not
is
me
run,
personally, no.
But I think everything is run on a system, and if you understand the system well enough, you can get into it.
But do you think it's like accessible from the internet sort of thing?
I don't know.
Yeah,
there will be. I imagine it's probably one of the hardest things to hack into.
Because that's the thing about nuclear as well. Like you think of nuclear reactors and how everything is like run with that. There's like points of failure. I know they call it that, like different, or that certain points of failure, but then also, you know, bits that you if that, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, certain safety precautions that are put in place that you can't get past that one, and do you know what I mean? It's I don't know how it would. I'm butchering this. I'm not even talking anymore.
no, I know what you mean. I know what
you're trying to say.
Yeah, crazy. Because I know that like Anonymous have done like some pretty cool stuff, haven't they? I can't really think of an example right now.
They released like the whole Jeffrey Epstein list, didn't they? That was one of the things.
Oh, was that one of the things they did?
Yeah.
Was it? Whoa, crazy.
Which, like, to get your hands on that must have been a hard thing to get your hands on. But like you say, these people, they're so like powerful, all things combined, that they could bring, if a hacker like was good enough and really wanted to, I'm sure they could bring down like a
just
city.
Disrupt things, you know.
Yeah.
What was the one? They did something with PayPal. I know they were like unhappy about the way. I think that was an anonymous thing as well. So they overloaded PayPal with like internet traffic and like shut that down, and that caused loads of disruption. It's like things like that, like overloading. Kind of like websites and stuff.
I feel like we've never actually seen like a real good example of how a cyber war would be played out, but a cyber war would be like pretty terrifying because there's so much stuff that could happen in a cyber war. Like you say, like if someone just randomly got like nuclear codes or something, you know what I mean? But I feel like we've never actually seen anything to date that has been that crazy, apart from like things which essentially are almost like equivalent to a strike, but just by hacking. You know what I mean?
I think the crypto space is like really crazy with hacking and stuff as well, because like I don't know, there's this part of it, it's called like the bridge, where I think it's where, say, like the exchanges, like the bridge is like the point of like what is the word? Come to me, word. Vulnerability in the system that hackers can get into, and they can like steal everyone's money, like to kind of see what last transaction was. And there's been a few of those. I know like one of like the early ones was called like Mt. Gox, and that was where a load of Bitcoin got stolen. Whoa. And that was the Mt. Gox was like the first online exchange. Like exchanges is where people put their money on to like buy these different cryptos and everything. And like that was one. You know, people stole a load of money, and I know there's been like different ones. Like there was this one recently with a crypto called Harmony, and they stole millions of like worth of. So you know, people do that. And what these crypto things have been doing as well, they've been paying the hackers to like give the money back. So it's almost like really crazy as well, almost like, you know, with terrorists, it's like we never we do not negotiate with terrorists. But like these guys are so like can see how good like the hackers are and stuff, that they're just like, oh look, we'll do this if you give us this money back. And that, do you know what I mean? And they're actually like negotiating with
literally just taking them for ransom.
And like people are saying in the space, like it's really like not good that's happening, because it's
almost like encouraging
hackers to do it more. But that's great, because you know there is like, I think it's really down at the moment, but it's still over a 1 trillion market like cap of amount of money that's in like the crypto space. So that's a lot of damn money, you know. And like people, hackers just going in, that's probably one of the biggest ones of like people's wealth and stuff that's just being stolen and stuff. It's pretty crazy.
I know we were originally obviously going to talk about like AI as well, and I feel like this links pretty well into that, because I'd be curious if it did progress to a point where AI became, you know, essentially citizens equal to humans. If that was the reality that came to be, would there be a situation where hackers would be able to hack into AI
and change it,
or would AI be able to protect us from hackers? One of the two would happen, wouldn't it? Either hackers would be able to basically turn AI into like an army, or the opposite would happen. AI would be like, don't worry, we'll literally just shut down whatever the hackers are trying to do, because like surely the whole fear with AI surely is that they are the ultimate masters of like
the perfect
the internet and computers and everything.
Yeah, because it's about knowledge, isn't it? Like you get these people like that are just so, their brains can hold so much information, and it's what separates like genius from just normal people and that. But like the thing about AI is it's like
there's no limit.
It's infinite. And it can grow in that, and it's like not only is that the case, but it can also at like a in a microsecond, like present the information that you're looking for.
I mean,
if only we could do that.
Yeah, if it doesn't know something, it's got in a millisecond, it's got access to every single
the knowledge of every single person
of the greatest minds ever.
Yeah.
And all the latest studies and quantum mechanics and physics and just crazy.
Yeah. And that's it, because it's like it does it on like algorithms and stuff. And I was watching that video that I put in the group. What's really interesting about it is through a lot of the video, it's about like AI being creative. Right. So like it's taking its algorithms and it's taking its information and actually being creative with it. So like creating art and stuff. And it's so crazy because
I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, when you look at it, it is like like an ayahuasca trip or something, or like a mushroom trip. Like the geometric flow of things of like tapping is like you almost feel like you are tapping into the matrix of information in life when you're having an experience like that, because everything looks like that continuating pattern of geometric like craziness. And like the artwork that these AI is creating is like that. It's like a continuous morphing and forming into something else. So it's almost like it is like the infinite potential being like manifest in some kind of like art or something. It's really cool. Crazy.
Do you think we will live through a period where AI is going to be like a big problem? Like whether it becomes robots or...
I really don't know, man. It's so hard to say. I mean,
I think there's the huge potential for it.
I think when you hear someone like Elon Musk saying that like we should all consider it as like the greatest threat right now.
Yeah.
I think that sends like a bit of an alarm bell in my head.
I've heard this like crazy theory of like like evolution and the fact that like humans were like a next step in evolution in a planet of like natural organic things of like life form and stuff, and like we've progressed in our knowledge and everything. It's almost like someone was saying, I can't remember where I saw it. It was like, but it made me like, it blew my mind about like we could be the seed of birthing a new kind of thing
like
for the
God.
universe,
Like God,
which is like technology and AI. So that could almost overpower us, but then be birthed into this new thing that goes out into the universe that's beyond us.
Well, there's a good question. I'll just add this question onto that. By shutting down AI, let's say it got to a point where everyone in the world was looking at it like, all right, this seems to be getting a bit sketchy, a bit out of our hands, a bit out of our control now. Yeah. Let's shut it down. By that point, is it not hindering life in a way?
Well, I mean, the thing is, how would you even shut it down? Because how would it? Surely by that point, it would just be able to restart itself again.
So that's that's that thing. Like, when does it become like self-perpetuating or like self?
How can it just like almost like self-reliant?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, at the moment, if you cut the wires on something, it's not going to be able
I guess it depends.
It understands enough about energy and how to like self.
I think what you'd have to do is destroy the internet, wouldn't you? That's what you'd have to do to get rid of AI, surely. Destroy it, because then nothing's linked.
Fully back to organic life. Oh, because that was the other thing in that video, which is really interesting. It was like nano computers and nano bugs. Yeah. So they were saying that potentially nanobots. So it was potentially like what this could be for humans, as in like it could be so small that it could go into your arteries and it could like clear the gunk out of your arteries and all that stuff. Like in a good way. The good part of it. But also if it becomes the computers knew how to like make this, it's like a whole army of those could be like built without us even knowing. They're so small in that, or like, do you know what I mean?
Expand inside your body and like pop you from inside.
Oh my lord! But that's one of the reasons why, like, Elon Musk says why he's like making Neuralink and that, because I know I've heard him say before that he thinks that we will either have to basically merge with AI or end up combating AI. So he obviously thinks we should merge with it. That's why he wants. I know his whole thing is like, if you have Neuralink, for example, and we have access to all the information in the world and stuff, then I guess that negates the threat from AI thinking of it as like a robot versus you. Because if the robot has access to all that AI, but you don't, then that makes the robot more superior to you. But if you have a Neuralink in you and you have access to all the information in the world, then you are just as powerful as that potential like robot or whatever.
This is where like I think it's really interesting with like consciousness and stuff, because if you do go into like an altered state, or if you have these kind of experiences, I like believe that we have the power to do that without actually needing like Neuralink. It's like, for me, it's just expanding the information that you can, like, you know, your brain can only hold so much, but then in some of these peak experiences you can have in life where you open up like to wider information, you can understand it, not in a way, you can be conscious of it. Do you know what I mean? So like, because of that, it's like almost like you don't need like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's the capability and there's the potential of our own like consciousness to be expanded to an extent to kind of like know anything. But like, do you know what I mean? So it seems to be dehuman to think that you'd need some kind of technology to do that consciously.
I think what's quite scary as well is that, in my head at least, and I'm sure a lot of other people would replicate this thought, it almost seems like almost a bit of a romanticised thought that we could live in harmony with cyborgs or AI, essentially.
Well, I guess that's the whole thing with Elon Musk. He's saying that we should become the cyborgs.
Yeah, but then I'm saying, like, however, the danger of that is that if we were to lead them to become in harmony with us, and they became much more powerful than us quickly, and they just decided, you know what, we don't need these, we're going to get rid of them now, dispose of them, at that point there's nothing you can do. So like you say, that's where I can see where Elon Musk is coming from with the fact that you can't let this thing become so much more strong than you that we would become essentially hopeless.
Well, think about like the people in life as well that like could do something that could be really horrible, like kill a baby or something. It's the people that are almost like dehumanized. Like, what makes us human is the emotions
Conscience.
of and
100%.
that. Like, so that's what's scary about it. Like, because these robots
It's
or the
clinical.
AI, it's clinical, and it doesn't have that. There's more of a chance, because I feel like you say some of the people have murdered people and they're almost like psycho. They're like, they don't have any emotion.
A good analogy I've heard, to put it that way, they would say, like, if you need to build a freeway, right, and you're going to destroy an ant's nest in doing so, like, do humans care about that? Like, no. But by the time that AI got intelligent enough and became superior to us enough, it would probably look at us the same way we look, like at an ant colony. So if it just had a task and it knew it needed to complete an objective, it would destroy us with no more hesitancy than we would wipe out an ant's nest to make a freeway, because it was in the way of our freeway.
The question is as well, if an AI came about and it was tasked with the idea of looking after all of the world, like all nature, you've got to think that, to be honest, on the overall plan and scheme of the world, humans probably would be better for the rest of nature if we weren't on the world. Would you agree with that?
Well, I don't know, because I think of, like, when I look at a garden and, like, you know, and the garden's unkept and it's just left to do its thing. It's got its own beauty, but it also looks a bit of a mess.
Unmanaged.
Some of the most like, I think that's almost like, if a human is in harmony and creative and using that beauty of creativity with the land and with that in harmony with it, it makes something more beautiful than it just growing on its own, you know. But it's about doing it in harmony with it, which
I think so.
I suppose that's without looking at the entire population, though, isn't it? If you were to look at, like, certain people, I definitely agree with that. Like, when it is kept.
I'm talking about, like, the potential of humans.
Like,
right. Generally, we're like raping the earth, as they say it. Like, you know, with but you know, with the potential that humans have, you can make it more beautiful, and that's like my hope.
You're almost like managing it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, rather than making it worse, you're almost managing it. Yeah. Which is better than just pure chaos.
In cohabitation.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I've heard that, like, in recent years, some people that like believe in that believe that, like, aliens and extraterrestrials and stuff have visited Earth, it's becoming more and more popular to think that rather than them being actual, like, life forms from another planet, that it's probably that planet's form of AI. Because if you think about it, to travel through the infinite, like, sort of vacuum of space as well, it's hard for us to think, because we just think of we think of time relative to our lifespan, all right? But obviously, to travel space effectively, unless you've really come up with some ridiculously groundbreaking sort of thing, it's like probably like thousands and thousands of years long endeavor. So they think that the best way to get around that is to create, as soon as a civilization is advanced enough to build an AI, and they can put that in a spaceship
and send the information
and send
back.
that off, but that AI could have been alive for 1,000 years by the time it reaches Earth. And they're almost like little
sending
scouts.
back the transmissions.
They're just sending it the same way that we almost like send out satellites, and the satellites are beaming stuff. But they're
like
almost like little
Sophia
humanoid
robot
robots.
we were watching just before this show, and then it literally said it in that interview, didn't it? The Sophia robot. It was like, didn't it say something like, I could live forever, I am immortal, or something like that?
Yeah, I think there's even like speculation that like the spaceships that Bob Lazar said that he worked on, that they were probably manned by an AI rather than an actual like life form.
Yeah.
Crazy, isn't it?
Absolutely crazy.
With that, we've pretty much come to the end of the episode.
Whoa.
Yeah. So hopefully your minds are sufficiently blown for one day. Yeah, that was cool. I feel like we could chat about this for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll pick it up again next week.
I might watch some more videos.
Man, some real good suggestions on like just your YouTube from what we were watching earlier. It's Elon Musk interviewing a robot that's saying it's conscious.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Anyway, everyone, have a beautiful week. Thanks for tuning in this evening and being with us. We love you. I have been Obadiah. He has been
Bullwinkle, I believe.
That's his name.
That's my name.
He has been nice.
Trebek.
Yeah, man. Have a good week, everybody. We love you. See you next week.
For the worst, hope for the best.